episode was inspired by numerous memes I see about building the people, not a business, and books about human capital telling us that the employers come before your clients. The list goes on in my mind and in my feed, so I'm going to provide you with my 2 cents on this topic. Listen in for more. Need an extra set of hands for a case that requires a little more investigation work? Check out our proud sponsor of Season 3, Affirm Investigative Solutions, where you get the tailored and personal care for your case when you need it most. With over 10 years of experience, Affirm Investigative Solutions makes the process easy. Set up a call, develop a plan, and then execute that plan. Affirm Investigative Solutions, the litigation partner that has your back.
Hey guys, it's your girl Etta, and welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about the business part of law. As legal professionals, we may only know some, if not all, of the business aspect of the companies that we work with or work for. So that's why I'm going to break it down to what really happens behind the closed doors. As legal support staff members, you might get frustrated when the process is changed or something you feel is not going to work or it doesn't really fit the firm's needs. And as a manager or an executive of the firm, you feel like the change will work. And that's what you've been sold, not told. So the reason why there is such a disconnect is because we're not communicating with each other about the bottlenecks and the inefficiencies of the firm. Because ultimately, the reason why these changes are being made are to ultimately improve the business of the firm. However, these decisions are not being made collaboratively or at least introduced prior to the changes being made to the rest of the company. So that's going to create detachment, hesitancy throughout the rest of the firm. Understanding how the business of law actually works will assist in alleviating some of the discrepancies of our day-to-day occurrences. We often sit at our desks staring at a screen, much like I'm doing now, just to do what we're asked of. We complete tasks, we try and think of other things that we may need to do and add to the list. And we just carry on, this crazy chaos that we call our legal profession. So let's talk business. Things we actually need to realize. A law firm is a business. Let me say that again. A law firm is a business. One of the differences is that a law firm largely is ran by lawyers. The problem with this is that most lawyers are not trained in owning a business. They definitely did not learn about owning a business in law school, which means they're either learning on the job, taking advice from others, and/or taking on the challenges as they come, all while trying to actually be a lawyer and deal with their outside career responsibilities. Hence, why lawyers are listed within the top 10 professions of high rates of substance abuse and suicide. This creates further inefficiencies throughout the law firm, and not to mention other things. But it's the concepts that I mentioned in my intro to this episode, such as human capital and process development, through the building of the people, are foreign to most of these law firm owners because of that reason. Human capital and process development, those are business terms, not very common in the legal industry in general, or legal jargon, right? Legalese, like we call it. So, running a business, you need to know business 101. Running a law firm and being a lawyer, you need to actually go to law school and know about lawyering, right? Just to put it into lay terms. But sometimes those two don't mesh, hence why we're in this continuous vicious cycle that we call the legal industry. And of course, I'm generalizing this, guys. This is not like every single law firm out there or every legal company. Obviously, some have actually hopped on the train and actually understand what they're supposed to be doing when we talk about human capital and process development. And some people actually have gone above and beyond and actually received business degrees, or have gone, and received CLEs in business. So I'm not saying that this is not a one size fits all, right? I never say that in my podcast. I always say that this is not a one size fits all. So understanding that this is just a very general breakdown of business of law. Okay. So my second point to this conversation is creating human capital. Human capital, by layman's definition, because we're not going to get too much into it. Obviously, this is not a business podcast. This is all about improving and empowering legal professionals, is the skills and knowledge and experience possessed by an individual or a group of persons. So the skills, the knowledge, and the experience, those three equate to human capital. Notice that I said skill, knowledge, and experience. So this is an addition, not a subtraction, division, multiplication, okay? This is all of it together. Skills, knowledge, and experience. You must have all three in order to create and build capital, any capital. So creating and building capital can be quite a task. Often when we're creating human capital, a human resource specialist is usually the one that's really, really, really trained and skilled in human capitalism. So if you don't have that at your firm and it's very small, it's just you and a paralegal, or if you are the paralegal, just you and an attorney, or it's a very small law firm where maybe you have a legal assistant or a receptionist or someone to help the paralegal, and maybe it's just 2 or 3 of you. This is often very uncommon, right? So we're talking about solo to small size law firms that typically do not have these trained skills in their law firm, whether it's through a human resource specialist, whether it's through their own proper training, whether it's through the paralegal taking above and beyond their skills and learning about human capital and understanding what that means. Usually very uncommon in solo to small size businesses in general. So, which in turn provides room for more obstacles for the business as a whole, right? So if the law firm does have a human resource option and we need to make sure that that person is in that position, actually holds the proper training and continues to up-level their skills to assure that they're the right fit for the staff. So just because you hire a human resource person or a specialist or even a full department, doesn't necessarily mean that this is automatically going to improve your inefficiencies and discrepancies. So don't think that human resource specialist is going to equate to higher efficiencies and, get to your goals faster. You have to make sure that the human resource specialists are actually designed for the type of firm that you have. So let me break that down for you. This person, whether it's a paralegal trained, whether it's a full-on human resource person that has X amount of experience in the specific, training, that's great. Some questions that you may want to ask in order to identify this person being the best fit is, have you ever worked at a law firm this size, with this dynamic, with this type of staff? So every law firm has its own culture, just like any other business. Again, law firms are businesses. So if it's a small law firm, typically small law firms are only 2 to 4 people. Now they're saying 4 to 5 people. For me, that's you're already getting close to the mid. But a solo law firm usually is just an attorney that outsources paralegal services or has like a part-time person. So when you bring in someone either prior to growing or while you're trying to grow, or when you are already growing and you're not understanding why you're not where you need to be, you have to ask the right questions. You have to make sure that they understand what company culture is, what human capital is, what process development, what process is going to work for your firm. And this often you can get from business consultants, as they have human resource skills as well. Especially if they've been in it for a long time, they kind of identify the bottlenecks of the firm. Again, this is not a one size fits all. So really understanding and putting the people in the right place is also going to help you with these bottlenecks, right? And a human resource specialist can help you with that. Now, departments, let's talk about that. So similar to other businesses, they are or may be departments. So when we have a big law firm, right? So let's do a big law firm. They separate each task sometimes. So sometimes they'll have a department dedicated just to intake. They'll have a department dedicated just to litigation and to pre-lit and to settlement and to mediation. So depending on how big the law firm is, they may already have departments for literally each task or each portion of their process, which again, if done correctly, it can work. But if you're not there yet, and this is a small, solo, maybe even mid, and you don't have departments, and literally your departments are this one person, which most often than not are paralegals. I can't even explain to you how many times I've heard a paralegal actually be an office manager as well. And that is mind-blowing. Like, how are you an office manager and a paralegal? Like, those are two completely different job skills. No wonder you're already burnt out and freaking out. Like I would, definitely. So understanding where you're at, right? Another difference is training. So the training, for the most part, is not common at law firms. And when there is training provided, they only train the person for the responsibilities that they are responsible for, not for the entire process of the firm. So this manufactures a widely spread issue throughout the legal industry. By not having the knowledge of the entire process, the legal professional is limited to their position. So let me explain. One must know what happens before, during, and after their place to fully excel at their job and understand their job, really, to be honest with you. It's what I call the book syndrome. If you open a book to any chapter and you don't read the entire book, are you really going to understand what you're reading? Well, the same goes for any position at the law firm, whether it's an administrative position, whether it's a paralegal position, a management position, a chief executive position, whatever position you are at, you're hiring for, you want to achieve, whatever it is, it's the same thing. Book syndrome, remember that. They're not going to understand their job to its entirety unless they learn what else goes on at the law firm. Simple. Expectations. Expectations are uncommon to be set between the legal staff and the management. Therefore, once the position is filled and the worker gets to work, they're running on nothing. There is no expectation set at the time of interview. So they have no clue what the law firm is expecting of them. And when they do meet those expectations, they get low evaluation scores or their constant corrections. And this is often disguised as constructive criticism, knowing very well that the expectations were not discussed in the first place by either party. So at the time of filling in the position, expectations for both parties, this goes both ways, it's a two-way street, must be discussed. So knowing where everything goes from start to finish will get you to the finish line faster, right? So perfect example. I'm gonna play the paralegal portion first because this is majorly for paralegals. So I come in for an interview and they say, do you have any questions? And you say nothing. Well, that's setting yourself up for failure, ain't it? So that's the perfect opportunity to be like, I absolutely have questions. So this is a part-time position. I know that I may or may not have any benefits, but do you offer any training? If so, what does that training look like? I am a certified paralegal. Do you offer any CLEs at this law firm? Do you have access to LexisNexis where I can get training on LexisNexis in a mastery program because of your LexisNexis? Same goes for Westlaw. So understanding what your expectations of the law firm is will open a better conversation and a more honest conversation of the expectations that you have of the law firm or legal department or legal company. And then in turn, they'll be like, no, we don't have that. But that is great. I'm going to write that down. Right there, that's good leadership. You know that you're in good hands if they're willing to look into it, figure things out for you. That's great. Right there, that's a sign of good leadership. And if you are leadership, hope you got that. So let's say you're the leader looking for this miraculous person. The first thing you do is, oh, okay, they checked out all the boxes of all the requirements. Great. But you're not hiring a set of skills, you're hiring a human. So understanding that you have to set expectations as well. Hey, we offer training 90 days. We're going to train you up. We're going to teach you everything from when the file starts to when the file ends. We're going to teach you about what type of clientele we have, how to handle our clients, what's the best way to communicate with our clients. We have all this set in place. That is the leadership that this paralegal needs, or this whatever legal support member needs, because they cannot support something that doesn't have a foundation. So you have to set that foundation up for them. And all they're there to do, what they should be doing, is either assisting you in improving that foundation or building upon that foundation. That is what the transactions are supposed to be. This is a partnership between management and legal support staff. And if that's not what's happening, that is your problem. That is why the business is not growing. Your legal career is not growing. That is why you feel stuck. That is why the business is not where it needs to be or where you want it to be, where the projections are not meeting. All of that good stuff. That is why it all starts at the expectations. So here I gave you a long laundry list of issues and of business points. So now I'm going to give you what I love to do best, solutions. Solutions are very simple. They're very simple solutions to complicated issues. Yeah, I know, right? So hire a business consultant would be very nice if you wanted to, so that you can both enhance the process and train your personnel, which I'm available. That you can offer onboarding and offboarding for the staff, right? Because what happens is the number one cost of a business is onboarding and offboarding, right? So on average, when a company loses an employee, you have to account for 6 months of that particular employee's salary, okay? So that is a lot of money to be losing. So why don't you invest that money that you can potentially or already have lost into someone that can actually help you and guide you and train up your personnel, whatever that may look like for you. Create a process that actually works for the business, not against the business. Create a process that can actually grow the business. That's what you want to do. And if you're a paralegal in no position to make these decisions, offer these solutions that I'm listing here today. So whatever your needs are, there is a simple solution to your complicated problem. If you're you want training, like let's say you're the business owner, or let's say you're the legal support staff, and you feel like you need more training and the company is not offering it to you, find a coach, find a mentor, go and get continuing education, skill enhancement, webinars or classes and courses. Paralegal studies programs, they offer one-offs, which is basically like a credit that you can get, or like a non-credit in your case, because it wouldn't count against the degree, but you can just take that one class. You don't have to have an entire degree. So a lot of community colleges are doing this. So look into them. Maybe you can just take that one class. Start going to events, that offer skill enhancement events. That way you can connect and actually, find a legal community that works for you and for your current status. I want to say that legal communities are hit or miss, but it's all relative at this point. Whether it's local, whether it's, nationwide, global, whatever it is. I'm a part of local, nationwide, and global. So I have all three, but that's just who I am. I like to learn everything about everything as possible. So the more I learn about what happens overseas, what happens in my community, and what happens across the country, the more I can help my paralegals, because I know what they're going through, because I've heard the stories or I've experienced it myself. So I know that I need to learn everything about everything, or a little bit about everything, in order to truly assist my law firms, my paralegals, and my clients in general. So understanding where you're at, if you haven't listened to our episode 8, definitely listen to that after this. So passing on ideas to each other is essential to changing the legal industry from the inside out, and just happens to be what Rosa LLC's mission is. So feel free to use me as a resource, continue to listen to this podcast, watch our YouTube videos, get a free consult, whatever it is that you need. All right. I want you to start reaching out and ask for help. It's not going to come to you. There's a solution to every complicated issue, and whatever works for you, even if I'm not your cup of tea, that's fine. There's plenty of other business consultants out there that are geared to law firms. There's plenty of other paralegal coaches that are more than willing to mesh with you and help you. We've had a couple of them on this podcast. Misty is one of them. Misty Murray and Amanda DiVincenzo. Those are two. Jacqueline Foster is also a paralegal coach. So listen, there's plenty of choices out there and opportunities for you, but they're not going to come to you. You have to go to them. Okay. So until justice is served, I'll be here. Bye.